And it's Ken Kreitzer for Cbsi and Cbsi Talking Business. We are looking forward to attending an event next week of the Independent Bankers Association in New York State. It's going to be held up in Clayton, New York, and it's going to be hosted by our friend John Witkowski, who is the president and CEO of that organization. John, good to see you. We're looking forward to traveling up to Clayton for your event next week.
Should be a good one, Ken, and thanks for having me. I think it's a beautiful part of the country, and I think people will enjoy it. We had a great agenda.
Very good. Well, tell us a little bit about some of the topics that are going to be coming up. It's a little bit different in the spring at your spring conference. There was a lot of concern about the banking system and differentiating community banks from the regional and larger banks. What's on the top of the agenda for your fall meeting?
Well, we have a agenda full of different topics that may impact or can relate to community banks. Obviously, we'll have an economic overview talking about what's going on lately with the economy, both at the national level and the state level, from our friends at Federal Home Loan Bank, Brian Jones. We also will be talking a little bit about loan portfolios and understanding a little bit more about what's going on with the regulators are looking at and reviewing your loan portfolio because, again, in this environment, the regulators are looking at different ways of really looking at the performance of your portfolio. And really so we have Bo Singh from Gschwender coming in and talking a little bit about that, what's going on with the post-pandemic and the credit risk piece of it. Also, we have another regulator, Ncontracts, not a regulator, but a group that helps with compliance and the regulators, and a former regulator by the name of Rafael, DeLeon from the OCC. So that takes up the first morning of the day, but
that's the
it's the first morning, and that should get everybody nice and juiced up for the rest of the day. But it's important to touch on all these topics, and we talk. We have a couple of groups coming in, Chubb Insurance and Cbsi come in and talk a little bit about the project that we're doing and are partnering with, and for small business, our bank's customers and small business. And then we have a group called Aventine, which is an analytical tool that they use for banks, and it's really I think a good tool and a good analytics tool to work in. That's a little bit different for our agenda because we have actually people coming in and talking about what we can do with their products. Usually it's more education. It's not more of a sales pitch, but I think these two projects are very important to bring to light to our banks.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned your first speaker from the Federal Reserve, the Home Loan Bank, Brian Jones, on Federal Reserve policy. Everyone's still looking at what's the Fed going to do with interest rates. Makes a big difference for community banks. That'll get it off to a good start. And I like this closing speaker that you have going to speak on large language models and navigating AI revolution. And Saroop Bharwani, a very interesting talk.
He's I'm really looking forward to having him. We had a nice discussion about this topic, and as you know, AI is being filled in everywhere, and there's a lot of good things to it, but there's a lot of negatives to it. And I've asked him to really touch on giving the bankers their kind of an overview, but really something that they can sit there and sink their teeth into and have a better understanding what AI can do to help them, but also the pitfalls and some of the issues that can come on with AI. You hear a lot of scams, ChatGPT, all these things that come along that community banks, again, they do very well in their communities, but sometimes they get some of the new technology and the big banks embrace it and they go after it. But sometimes our community banks are like, you know what? We do just fine where we are. We talk to people face to face. We want to make sure we get to see them. We're out in the community. But I thought this is always something. I always want to do something for the community banks to make them look forward to see what's happening in the future. And this is something that's really coming at us pretty fast.
And Jeff Marsico is going to be back talking about profitability. He gave a great talk at your event last week. I know he's one of your favorites.
Jeff is a good guy. He's one of my favorites because he brings a sense of levity to banking, and he's a lifelong community banker, strategist, and I've worked with Jeff for a number of years now. Even when I was in the banking world, he and the Kafafian group were instrumental in helping us understand profitability at the bank I was at. And I just think having him back, talk a little bit about strategy. He's always on to technology, always has a good understanding of what's happening next, and he brings a lot of life to the party. He's a good guy.
And Wednesday, you have a passing of the gavel ceremony with your current chairman, Anders Thompson of Chemming Canal Trust, who we had a chance to meet and do a talk with at your spring meeting, passing the gavel to a new leader. Anders Thompson done a nice job for you as chairman this year.
Anders is a class act. He's done a really nice job. He's been very engaged. He really speaks well to not only our bankers, but to the legislators. And he's really been a great asset for us to do that. We do a passing of the gavel. When pass it on to Steve Woodard, who's our next chair coming in from Alden State Bank. But Anders has done a great job. Like I said, he's very engaged and he's very on the spot. He's whatever I need, he will take care of, and he does a great job. And he runs a nice bank.
That's great, and it's going to be some interesting festivities. One of which is the opening of Monday Night Football and Buffalo Bills, your former team, playing the New York Jets. I know you're going to give some expert commentary on the game.
Well, you got to be careful. I'm in Buffalo, but Buffalo Bills is not my former team. I was a Detroit Lion.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, no, that should be exciting. I mean, I live in Buffalo. Obviously, I'm a Bills fan because they're my hometown team now. But I think the Bills and Jets it'll be a dogfight for sure. Aaron Rodgers coming in with the Jets, and their defense is tough. The Bills are explosive, and they have a good defense themselves. So it should be an interesting matchup. The Jets got a good piece of them last year, and I think Aaron Rodgers is going to bring a different vision for them on the offensive side. Randall Cobb's over there. They got some great receivers, and Aaron's he's MVP, obviously Hall of Fame shoe-in. It should be interesting. It should be fun to watch.
Yeah, no, he certainly made a big difference, made a big impression in New York so far. So that'll be something to watch and hear your commentary. So, John, looking forward next week, September 11th to the 13th, your Executive Bankers Symposium. That is going to be at the Island Harbor Hotel in Clayton, New York. We're looking forward to making the drive up there and seeing everybody. Should be a great conference.
Should be a great conference, and we're looking at everybody have a good time and absolutely network and learn something. We have some great speakers there, and we should be a very interesting time. And looking forward to the Cbsi Chubb informative session in the afternoon to see how we can get this project kicked off with all of our banks.
Absolutely looking forward to that, and appreciate the opportunity to attend. Your event should be a terrific event. Executive Bankers Symposium, September 11th to the 13th in Clayton, New York. And that is hosted by the Independent Bankers Association of New York State. John, we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Always a pleasure, Ken. Looking forward to it, and thank you for your support of IBANYS.
Our pleasure. This is Ken Kreitzer for CBSI and CBSI Talking Business.